Welcome to The Explainer. You know that feeling, right? That sudden pit in your stomach when the car makes a weird noise, or you get an unexpected bill in the mail. Today, we're breaking down how to build the one tool that helps you handle those moments without derailing your entire life. A real financial safety net. Let's get into it.
All right, let's just start with a quick gut check. Could you, right now, cover a $400 emergency with cash? The Federal Reserve recently found that only about 63% of adults could. That single statistic right there shows you exactly why this is such a critical topic. This isn't just theory, it's about real-world financial security. Okay, here's the game plan. We're going to walk through 5 essential parts of this. First, the why you absolutely need one. Then the what exactly are we talking about? Third, the high-yield advantage, which is a total game changer. Fourth, how to pick the right account for you. And finally, the rules of engagement, when to actually use the money. So, first up, why is this such a big deal? Well, think of an emergency fund as the shock absorber for your financial life. You know, life is going to be bumpy. That's a guarantee. This fund is what smooths out those bumps so they don't turn into a complete breakdown on the side of the road. And this is the crucial point, right here. This is not a luxury. It's not about being rich. It's a tool for being prepared. See, having this cash on hand completely changes how you react to a crisis. Instead of making panicked, desperate decisions, you have options. It puts you back in the driver's seat when you need it most. So what exactly are we building here? Let's get really specific. We need to define what an emergency fund actually is and, just as important, set a clear target for what you should be aiming for. Think of it like this. An emergency fund is a dedicated financial firewall. It's a pile of money you set aside for one reason and one reason only, to stand between some unexpected, life-altering event and your big, long-term financial goals, like buying a house or retiring comfortably. Okay, so how big does this firewall need to be? Well, the gold standard recommendation from pretty much every financial pro out there is 3 to 6 months of your essential living expenses. And by essential, we mean the absolute must-pays. Your rent or mortgage, your groceries, utilities, transportation, the stuff you can't live without. That's your target. All right, now for a really important question. Where the heck do you keep this money? Because let me tell you, not all savings accounts are created equal. Where you park this cash can make a huge, huge difference. So here's the balancing act you have to pull off. The money has to be liquid, easy to get to in a hurry. But at the same time, you don't want it just sitting there doing nothing, getting eaten away by inflation. No, it's time to make sure that even your safety net is working for you. And that brings us to the main event. This showdown between the old school savings account from a big traditional bank versus a modern high-yield savings account, or what everyone calls an HYSA. I mean, just look at this. At so many of the big traditional banks, the ones you see on every street corner, the interest rate or APY on their savings accounts is, well, it's practically zero. It's so low you'd barely even notice it. Now, look at the contrast. This is where it gets exciting. Top high-yield savings accounts are offering rates that are just astronomically higher. And the secret is, most of them are online only. They don't have to pay for fancy branches, so they pass those savings on to you in the form of way, way better interest rates. We're talking hundreds of times better. So what does this actually mean for your wallet? Let's put it in real dollar terms. Say you have 10 grand saved up. In a traditional account, you might earn $1, over a whole year. In a good HYSA, you could earn over $400. That is a massive difference for doing nothing more than picking the right account. Okay, you're probably sold on the idea, right? The advantage is just too big to ignore. So how do you actually go out and pick the right HYSA for you? Let's break down what to look for. It's actually pretty simple. You're really just looking for 4 key things. First, a high APY, obviously. Second, no monthly fees that are just going to eat away at your interest. Third, you want a low or even a $0 minimum deposit. And fourth, this is non-negotiable. Make sure it's FDIC or NCUA insured. That protects your money up to $250,000. And here's just a quick snapshot of some real-world options so you can see what's out there. What do you notice? Almost all the top accounts hit our checklist perfectly. High rates, 0 fees, and really low minimums to get started. Okay, let's talk about what might be the most important part of this whole strategy. I mean, having the money is great. That's step 1. But having the discipline to know when to use it and when not to, that's what makes this whole thing work. This right here, this is your new mantra. Before you even think about touching that money, you have to ask yourself, does it meet all three of these criteria? It has to be unexpected, it has to be necessary, and it has to be urgent. If it misses even one of these, it is not a true emergency.
Seriously, run every potential expense through this 3-point checklist. Was this something you could have planned for? No? Okay. Is your health, your home, or your ability to earn a living at risk? Yes? Okay. And finally, can this wait, or will delaying it make things much, much worse? If it can't wait, then yeah, you've got an emergency on your hands.
So what are we talking about here? These are the classics. Losing your job and needing money for rent. A surprise medical bill that's due now. The roof springing a leak or the engine blowing in the car you need to get to work. These are the big ones that directly threaten your stability. And just as important is what this fund is not for. It is not your vacation fund, it is not for a down payment, and it's definitely not for a hot stock tip. It's also not a Band-Aid for a broken budget. If you're running short every single month, that's a different problem to solve, not an emergency. But of course, life isn't always black and white, is it? There are gray areas. What about a huge vet bill for a beloved pet, or a last-minute flight to see a sick family member? For these maybe situations, that 3-point test is your best friend. It helps you take the emotion out of it and think through the decision logically. So when you pull this all together, what's the bottom line? It's this. Building and protecting an emergency fund, especially in an account where it's actually growing for you, is probably the single most powerful thing you can do for your financial well-being. It is your first and best line of defense. So we'll leave you with this to think about. Building real financial security doesn't happen overnight. It's built one small step at a time. So what's one little thing you can do this week to move toward this goal? Maybe it's just calculating your 3-month number. Maybe it's opening that HYSA. Or maybe it's as simple as setting up a $10 automatic transfer. Just start there.